Hello, you beautiful lot. It's Purple.
I'm Jamie.
And
just walked up some steps,
yeah.
so we're both really out of breath.
Yeah, it's bad time to start the camera. But we've come out to Earls Barton because I would love to know about this beautiful church right here. And of course it dates back to Anglo Saxon times, is it?
It is.
Yeah, so that's like 19...
That bit goes, the tower is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of history on this one, and of course it goes back to, well yeah. Jamie's passionate age of learning. So I've come up here for a bit of a history lesson, and Jamie says I can take you all along for the journey as well. But this is just beautiful, isn't it?
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is, Jamie.
So this is much later. This end of it. We start at the old end.
Yeah.
We start at the old end. So this, they reckon it was built in about 970.
So this is what we've been looking for. Yeah.
So it was built. This part of it, this tower, was built in about 970. And when they first started building these kind of churches, it was called a tower nave. Now the nave is the big bit in the church. When you go into an old church and you walk in the big main area, that's the nave. But this was just a single tower with a nave down here at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
It's believed there were living quarters just up here in the middle, and then obviously above that you've got your belfry, which is where the bells nowadays are held.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have had bells back in the old days. No. You know, it was just they didn't have cast bells like that back then. So, like I say, 970. The thing is with 970 is this is before the Normans turned up. 100 years before. 1066 was the sort of Norman invasion, William the Conqueror and all that.
So Doomsday books.
That's it. That was 1086.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see. Now, what they reckon is, according to the scholars and historians and things, is that it's sort of supposed to mirror brick woodwork, which is obviously what a lot of the Anglo Saxons were building with. But a more important part of this whole church is not the church itself; it's that just there.
Oh, the hill,
the mound. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the thing is with mounds and mottes and bailies. That's why I've raised the story of the William the Conqueror. When William the Conqueror and all of his men turned up, there weren't castle mounds. They didn't have castle mounds then.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really the done thing. And they did have the church because that had been there for 100 years. My belief is that this, either a mid-Iron Age or late Iron Age defensive platform,
right,
or even an earlier Iron Age burial platform. When they had to do some work down here, in 1979, 1980.
Okay, so pretty recent.
Yeah, but this part of the wall, you can see where it's been
re-rendered
here.
Yeah.
And they went down, I think it was about 1.5 meters underneath here, and they found evidence. They found 11 skeletons, not all in full order, right, but underneath the actual foundation of the tower, they actually found a skeleton, an incomplete skeleton. Oh. So that must have been
something
before
they built the church.
And this is where my real love of the whole thing comes in.
This is where Jamie goes brilliant.
Because if you think about it, we think of churches as being, we see them everywhere. They're everywhere now.
Yeah.
But the thing is that before the churches were here, there were other people. There were other ideas. And so the Anglo Saxons, the early Anglo Saxons, the sort of 600-700 BC, AD Anglo Saxons, they believed in pantheism. So they believed in lots of different gods. And then the church came along and it said, there's one true God. And so this is an early example of that. But this could well have been, and probably most likely is, an example of some kind of worship place that has been here for a long time. And another thing is, it's very difficult to see from here now because it's surrounded by all these trees. Yeah. But this is really one of the high points along the Nen Valley.
Oh yeah. I mean,
just down there.
I went over. I walked the Nen Valley, going across the Nen there, and the old railway line. You always see this. Yeah. So that'd be a pinnacle sighting point.
And so the thing is, remember when we went up to Hunsbury?
Yeah.
And we went to the
railway, wasn't it?
There's an Iron Age hill fort there. Remember the Iron Age show fort?
I remember.
There's one over at Crow Hill in Earthlingborough as well.
Oh, right,
which
okay.
There's hardly anything left of it now. There's another one over in Thrapston. There's the massive one, which is like the second biggest one in the country, at Borough Hill at Daventry.
That's
and
it.
the reason for it is another thing that we've looked at before, is the ironstone.
Of course.
Because all the way along the Northamptonshire hills and things, is that the ironstone is just at the surface.
Yeah.
And the Iron Age,
of course, was about the ironstone.
And the people that lived here, which were the Coriol Torvi people, from about 600 BC to about 60 BC, they were iron miners. And they were trading all over the known world.
Everywhere, weren't they?
And the thing is that as the Greeks and the Roman empires, the Greeks first and then the Roman empires started to really, become a bigger thing, they needed iron. So these people that were here were already trading with the war machine that eventually would go on to actually get rid of them. It would actually just sweep through here. So now we're talking back in AD 50, AD 58, and so when Julius Caesar, everyone's heard of Julius Caesar.
Yeah, of course.
He tried to invade Britain in AD 58, AD 50, around BC. Sorry, right, okay. I get all the BC in the AD.
That's all right.
He tried to invade Britain. It wasn't called Britain then, but the people that were here were called Brythonic.
Brythonic, that's
people.
it.
And the languages of the Brythonic people still actually exist in Welsh, Gaelic, Cornish, Breton, in northwest of France.
That's it.
And so they were all Brythonic people, and the Romans were sort of pushing as their empire expanded, and so you've got the Coriol Torvi people that lived around this area, and they were peaceable enough people. I mean, to be fair, they had a small empire that went from sort of here up to Warwickshire, out to Warwickshire, up into Leicestershire, and they had this great source of iron. And so obviously they could arm themselves to a reasonable level, but also they were trading people, and we know from contemporary reports of the time that Northamptonshire was a net exporter of iron. Okay, so they were pulling iron out of here even back then, and we know, we can only assume that before the Greek and the Romans, they were doing the same anyway, because it was the Iron Age. See, before the Brythonic settlement of the Coriol Torvi, you had the Deboni to the south, the Brigantes further north. Before that, obviously, it was the Bronze Age, but the Bronze Age didn't really affect Britain, apart from the fact that tin was being taken from Cornwall to Syria to Egypt and places like that.
Yeah, that's mad. Yeah, so tin from my mum's side of the family's homeland was being taken to Africa. You're being traded with black people. And when? And what year?
3,500 years ago.
And there was unity back then.
Yeah. They were obviously. And not only that, we find gold in Northern Europe and in Britain that's got signature isotopes from Libya and from Syria. So that's what they were trading. They were trading gold and tin.
Of course.
And also they'd have been trading ideas. They'd have been trading goods, other goods. Leather, whatever, anything, whatever was useful, furs, things like that. And it was quite a peaceful time. And then what happened was Julius Caesar thought, right, there's Britain. I'm going to go and have that. And so he turned up at the shores, which is a long way from here, remember? Of Britain in about BC 58. Yeah, so 58 years BC, before Christ, whatever you want to call it. BCE, modern historians, big common era. And that caused the Cortevaluni people that were further south to start moving forwards.
Oh, okay.
And moving ahead of the Romans. We were trading with the Romans. We knew they were coming.
Yeah.
So, and when Julius Caesar in 58 BC started going, I've got my eyes on that prize now. That's where all the tin is, and all the iron, and all those people that will build these roads and things for me. And so what's believed is that the Cortevaluni people started moving forwards, and then all the way along the Nen Valley here, which is where the outcrops of stone are, where the ironstone are, the Coriol Torvi people that were already living here started to build small hill forts. Now, the early hill forts, like
a bit like Hunsbury Hill
and over Earthlingborough, they were built about 500-600 years BC. But the other ones that are like Ashby and places like that further along, they were built around that time, and it's believed that the Coriol Torvi people were building these to try and stop the invasion of the Cortevaluni people.
Oh,
and this could well be
one of those. And because we're not sure.
We don't know.
No, because like there's been no scientific stuff gone on this, no testing done, is there?
But you can see that this is not, you know, this isn't a castle mound.
No.
Like a Norman would build a castle mound. There'd be a castle here. You know, there would be, and it's tiny as well. But, and it's really difficult to see because they've got all these taxes in here, these U's.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is another beautiful thing because the U's, one of the reasons the British did so well in later wars at Agincourt and things.
Oh, because of the U wood.
Because of the U wood.
It was good for archery, wasn't it?
For archery, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason that they're in church grounds is because they're very poisonous and they've got a massive ancient folklore of being poisonous. So that's a separate thing altogether. We can do something about that.
Oh, yeah.
But if
Story
you were
for another
stood here
day.
on top of that wall, and those trees weren't there, you could see the whole of the Nen Valley. Because you've got to remember, these houses are only 300-400 years old.
Well, yeah, it would have been flat, so there wouldn't have been nothing, none of this.
No, exactly.
No, you would literally see all the way over to Great Billing that way and Wellingborough that way.
Apart from the church, in most most towns, is about 15th, 16th century. I don't know exactly what it is in Earls Barton here, but you know, the manor house maybe 15th, 16th, 17th century like that. None of this would have existed.
No.
You know, it would have been just this. This would have been the settlement.
That's
you know what I mean?
crazy,
So the
isn't it?
interesting thing, and another interesting thing about this church in particular, and about William the Conqueror and things, this church was owned Earl Wealhtheof. Wealhtheof, okay? And this was before the Norman invasion.
Right, okay.
When William the Conqueror came in, because King Wealhtheof was shacked up with William the Conqueror's niece, Judith.
Oh, right,
Queen Judith.
Queen Judith.
Yeah. Well, Countess Judith, and she was Norman. She was from Normandy. Because she was shacked up with him, King Wealhtheof, who was an Anglo Saxon. Yeah. He got to keep this bit of land. Yes. So he was the last of the Anglo Saxon earls. So a jarl is an earl, or he's what we would call a lord now.
Yeah, but jarls.
Yeah, exactly.
So I play Skyrim, so yeah.
And that's why, obviously, this is Earls Barton. Now, the Barton bit, this is an interesting thing where
What is Barton? Because you see it everywhere. It's either Barton or Burton.
Well, okay. For me, I disagree with what's the sort of perceived wisdom. Barton means the barley place, the barley field. But when you look at words that have got bury in them, so Allingbury, which we know there is an Iron Age hill fort, and other places such as with borough or bury in them, invariably they've got a hill fort in them or burial mounds. Okay, so the Anglo-Saxon word for a burial mound is a burg. Okay,
yeah, of course.
so this could be Earls Barton. So this could be, we don't know. I mean, it would be great to dig straight down.
It really would. I mean, but you look at the shape of this, and they've got the wall on top.
If you think about Yeldon, which isn't that far from here, and there's another one. Isn't there, down at near Billing? And all it is literally like this.
But there was another one, Beauchamp. Yes, there's one in Beauchamp. They're all over here.
Exactly.
Wow, the hill forts. It looks like we're
No, those aren't hill forts.
Oh, hill forts.
No, those are Norman Motte and Bailey castles.
Oh,
okay. But the thing is with the Norman Motte and Bailey castles is they don't have a moat like this.
No.
Okay, they'll have the mount. Yeah, which is the motte, and the bailey, which is the building on top of it. Okay, when you hear of Motte and Bailey, a lot of people think it means moat. It doesn't. Motte means mount. Okay, so the one over at Billing here and the one over at Yeldon, they don't have moats around them. They do have a small enclosure around them, but it's not a moat, and certainly not that deep.
No, it's not.
Whereas the hill forts have got henged, as we would call it.
Okay,
so
they would have that. Yeah. So either fill in water, or so you can't drag machinery up, or it's always best to fight the battle downwards, isn't it? If you've got the arrows and that.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's all conjecture on my part. I'm no archaeologist. I'm no historian. I don't really know what I'm talking about, obviously. But, I mean, and another thing as well with the sort of 970, when this church was built, that was just after what is known as the Great Heathen Army. Okay, so the Anglo-Saxons that had already immigrated here, they'd already come across from Germany and Denmark. That's where the Angle bit comes from. Angles and Saxons come from. That's what we are. or the word is rather.
Yeah, yeah.
I identify further back with the Blythonic.
Yeah, you're more original. You're more
I'd like
original
to
to
think
the
so,
land.
but I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm a good mongrel, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah. Because well, you know, we all go on about our foreigners are coming here, taking this, but they've been here for decades.
Well, the thing is, okay, if we go all the way back,
Yeah.
the earliest known sort of
immigrant.
no, the earliest sort of known settlements of these islands are Beaker people. Okay, and the reason they're called Beaker people is because of the particular style of pots that they made.
Oh, okay.
And they were from Belgium.
Oh.
Okay, so the earliest evidence we have of a real settled group of people, obviously we've got Bronze Age and Iron Age artifacts, but not necessarily tribal or group affiliation. But the first evidence of that we have is what we call the Beaker people, and so they were from Belgium, and so they came over. And this was sort of, you know, they were probably the Coriol Torvi and the people like that. So they came over sort of 1500, which is the Iron Age. But and then you get the Romans coming over, okay?
Of course, yeah,
and
yeah.
Now, so
and they really didn't care. I mean, you showed me that picture where they just went straight through a burial mound.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put that picture up. But...
And that's the thing here. You see, this could well be an Anglo Saxon burial mound. It could be, okay? And then a later Anglo-Saxon, so this could be early Anglo-Saxon, yeah? Okay. And then a later Anglo-Saxon with a bit of cash, because it's expensive to build with stone.
Of course.
Especially when the iron that you're getting is difficult to get out of the ground. They didn't have machines like we've got now. Waltheoff came along and he went, you know what, I'm going to build a tower. I'm going to build a tower nave here. So he built his church, but it could even be earlier than that. So it could be older than that, couldn't it?
Yeah, that's absolutely mental.
That mound there could have been a Coriol Torvi defensive structure, which then, you know, was seen to be important, and so the people that came after them thought, well, it's an important site, we'll use it as an important, and it is anyway because of the fact that it overlooks the whole of the whole valley. Mate.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see that this is much newer. You can see the. Did you see the benchmark around the other side?
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, go for it.
I've never seen it before.
Well, I think that way's a dead end anyway. I got stuck that bit last time.
Just here is what's called a benchmark.
Oh yeah.
So if you look on an OS map, an Ordnance Survey map,
yeah,
that will be marked as the height above sea level. So I'm sure if you want to
I've seen them.
That will say 342 or whatever height above sea level we are here.
Oh, that is.
And that's because it's literally set in stone.
Literally, set in stone.
It's a benchmark. It's called a benchmark. Yeah.
There you go.
So you can see. So this is the Anglo-Saxon bit, and then there's actually a lot of Roman influence to it as well, with these big tall things like this. You see this on things like Porchester Castle down in Dorset, but then you can see that the newer bit, that this is much more Norman building style. This has got this. See where they've got these big stones here?
Yeah.
And then those. It's called long and short building style.
Oh, right, okay.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And all that's behind here is just masses of stone, just like blub 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 blub, and then rendered. So this render isn't a new thing.
No.
This has been rendered. It's believed to have been rendered right back at the beginning of. When
wow, so probably the first rendering, yeah?
Yeah, well, not the first rendering, no, that's been around adobe buildings in Egypt.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, of course.
But the thing is, the church in itself is an interesting thing because...
I mean, you've got a door up there as well.
Yeah, but you think about the church as being, ancient, 1,000 years old. But the oldest churches that we have on, churches, Christian churches, are actually in Africa. You know, you've got the Middle East, you've got churches in Jordan and Syria that have been around since... 2nd, 3rd century, but the oldest church and the oldest continuous congregation is actually in Ethiopia, the Coptic Christians. So their churches are 700 years older than this, 600, 700 years older than this.
Oh wow!
And they're still worshipping in them. They're still. I mean, so this is quite a new building.
That is really new, but yeah. That's new compared to what's in Ethiopia.
I mean, this is 12th century.
It's still 12th century.
Still 12th century. So most like the church...
Still 800 years.
Like the church in Wilby, where I live, is 12th century. It was built in the 1100s, which makes it the 12th century. And it's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is, mate. Oh, look at the Aztec style in there, though. That's proper Anglo-Saxon, isn't it?
That's 12th... Well, no, it's later than that. No, the only bit that is the Anglo-Saxon is the tower.
I was thinking the style of the writing on it. I mean, look at the carving.
Yeah.
It's animals,
Yeah,
African
yeah.
animals.
And
by
it's
the looks of
strange.
it.
It's animistic. It's like an animistic thing, you see.
It really is.
And you've got to remember that Earl Waltheoff,
Yeah.
who this was his gaff, yeah. He was married to Countess Judith, yeah, William the Conqueror's niece. So he was family kind of thing. But he led a rebellion against William the Conqueror about 15 years after he turned up, and his missus grassed him in.
Oh, what?
So, yeah. So Countess Judith grassed him in, yeah. And so he had his head chopped off. William I, as William the Conqueror, chopped his head off. And then this was passed to Simon de Senlis, who then went to the Crusades, the First Crusade, over in Jerusalem, to try and drive out, you know, somebody else's version of this story. And then came back and built the Holy Sepulchre in Northampton, which is one of 3, I think, circular churches in the country.
That's it, yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, we've got Port Pie Church.
And you can see where it just gets old, newer as it comes back, as obviously as the congregation grew. I mean, back then there might have only been 50, 60 people living around here, because there would have been a lot of marshland and things like that we don't.
A little bit like what you say about Findon. I mean, that only had like a population of like 50 people.
Well, Findon was one of the largest places.
It was large. That's it. Only had 50 people, but it was one of the largest.
Okay, so it wasn't 50. There were probably 20 people. Yeah, at the time of the Doomsday Book, it said about 60 people.
Yeah,
but now you've got to remember
that. But then you've got servants.
Yeah,
you've got the servants and everyone.
Exactly.
But people of actual importance, 50.
Yeah.
So that's really not many, but it was still one of the biggest towns.
Yeah.
I mean, I did notice up here as well. We've also got Thomas Whitworth.
Oh yeah.
So if you know anything of Wellingborough, we've got a big mill down by the embankment called Whitworth's. It seems we've got it up here.
1799.
That's what it looks like.
Day of February 1799. That one's a little bit funny though. It almost looks like it's saying
something else, yeah.
Maybe it must be 1799. There's no way that's 1799, because that's before the church was built.
1799, 80th years of his age.
Yeah, so he was born
Now let the Lord of Saviour.
So he was born in 1698.
For mile. Yeah, that's crazy. What we got? Chives.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
This is a herb garden anyway. They put it in.
Oh, see all the bees going about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh look, you've got strawberries.
Yeah, these are a different sort though, and they're past the best, aren't they?
They're a bit longer.
So there you go, mate. I mean, I could go on for hours and hours.
Yeah, I know, mate. No, but that's absolutely brilliant.
I mean,
I did just see that plaque. It's got the old writing on it as well.
Yeah.
But
the thing is I could. It's, you know me, mate.
Yeah. Well, this is a good brief introduction to learning all
and we're
this.
right in the middle of the country as well, so all these invaders that were coming in, whatever you want to call them, they were all slave traders. They'd just take the women and they'd do whatever they wanted to them. They'd take the young
brutal.
people and put them into slavery all the time, and it's been going on forever.
It's been going on for decades.
It's going on for millennia, mate.
Millennia. For millennia. That's the word.
And the thing is, a lot of people look at the church as this invasive, blah blah blah, and it is to a degree, because you've got to think that an idea is more invasive than the replacement of people. So, you know, if you can get everyone on the same page thinking about something, let's say for example, putting a mask on before you go into a shop, you can cut this bit out later on, but if you want to, and just make everyone think that that's what they've got to do, even though there's nothing to make them do that, then you've got
something.
You've got something. You've got an idea above other people. So, and that's what that's what the church is about. Because before this, we had animist beliefs, like you see on there, the people praising animals, and then you've got things like Odin and Thor, people like that, and obviously the Romans and the Greeks, they had Hermes, they had Mercury, they had Mars, they had all of those, Jupiter. They didn't have one god.
No.
And then this one came along,
and it's like one.
Yeah, and there is one god, and that's what they said. There is one God.
Wow.
And like Jesus said, to find that God, you have to look inside.
Aye. From Messiah 1 and Messiah 2, I think on that note, what we'll do is, I think we'll go around the back and we'll send the drone up in the air so you can have a look at this beautiful place. Because it is absolutely stunning.
And then, another nice thing they like to do at Christmas
is
they put a Christmas tree on the top of it that you can see all the way along the Nen Valley.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful, mate.
It really is. Okay then. Right, we'll go around the back and we'll send up drones, see what it's like.
you.